Hi everyone, this is Anton from Anton's Mindstorms Hack, and today we're going to tackle another synchronization problem. What we want to do today is make sure that when you give a motor command to both motors that they start and finish at the same time. For this we're going to hack the green move block. So let's get to it. Okay, first let's see what the move block really does. Let's, for instance, let's go to port view here and let's drive straight for, say, 360 degrees, and of course add a little weight block here to make the move block more precise. Let's see what happens when we run this program. Both motors run exactly 360 degrees. That stands to reason because we have steering 0 and 360 degrees. Now let's see what happens if we make steering 25. Okay, let's run that again. What happens now is that motor B, the left motor, runs the full amount, and motor C runs exactly half the amount of motor B. And that stands to reason because if the left motor runs farther than the right motor, we get a right turn. Now, so 25 leads to motor C running half the amount of degrees of motor B, and motor B runs the full amount of degrees as specified here. Now let's go up to 50 for steering. Let's see what happens now. What we see now is that motor B runs the full amount again and motor C runs 0. Okay, let's go up to 75. What happens now? So again motor C runs the full amount, motor B runs, C runs 0. Oh, sorry, I changed the wrong number. I should have changed the turning rate. Okay. Yes, so what we've seen now is that motor B again runs the full amount, but motor C runs negative half of B. And let's do the final experiment with 100 turn rate. And now they run exactly opposite for the full amount of degrees as specified. Now let's take a look at what that means on a graph. Let's make a quick table here. If we have turn rate, so now we tried every turn rate from 0 to 25 to 50 to 75 to 100. And this is what motor B ran, this is what C ran. So motor B ran 360 degrees every time. Motor C ran 360 degrees when we headed straight, 180 at 25 steering, 0 at 50 steering, minus 180, 75, and minus 360 at 100. So what we want to do now is calculate the steering rate for whatever amount of B and C and make sure that they finish at the same time. What's relevant for the steering rate, as you can imagine, is the rate of C to B. So B is always going to be the leading number of degrees, and then we want to, with the steering factor, calculate the amount for C. So in this case that would be 360 divided by 360, that's 1. 180 divided by 360, that's 0.5. 0 by 360 is 0. Minus 0.5 and minus 1. So let me show you. Up here we have steering rates, and up here we have rates of B to C, and here we have a maximum rate. So what we want to do is for every random number of B and C, calculate a steering rate based on this ratio. So how that works is, what you can see is this one goes up and this one goes from 1 to -1, so it goes down. So let's first start by reversing the row. Let me put another row here. So here we're going to write -C divided by B. That's evidently -1, -0.5, 0.51. So these are already closer to the steering rates. Now we're going to add 1, -C divided by B plus 1. Oops. That's going to give us a range from 0 to 0.5, 1, 1.5 and 2. And now it's a small step to go from this range to that range. We're just going to multiply this by 50. -C divided by B plus 1 times 50. That'll give us 0 there, 25 there, 50 here, 75 there, and 100 here. And voila! We are back to our steering rate. So this formula here calculates the steering rate depending on the amount of degrees of C and B that we want to run. So let's try that in practice. Let's put an advanced math block here and input the formula that we just derived. Remember, it was 50 times minus C divided by B plus 1. Okay, and let's make this 0. So let's, for instance, say we want motor C to run 720 degrees and motor B to run 7 and motor C to run, say, minus 360. And so this calculation should give our steering rate. And okay, I have to use constants because I need B twice. So this is going to be the rate for B, and this is going to be the amount of degrees I want C to run. There you go. Insert it there, and I needed the amount of degrees for B because I need to put that into my steering block. Now let's see what happens. So let's see that again. What you see is that even the motors turn different directions and different degrees. They start and finish exactly at the same time. So let's do this again a lot of times and just input random numbers and see if they always start and finish at the same time. Okay, what we're going to do now is make motor C run random numbers. So whatever motor C runs, you'll see that it always will finish together with motor B. So let's put it into a loop. Let's wait a little more here and let's add random numbers. Okay, here is random, and let's go from -10 to +10, and let's -2 to +2. Let's choose that. and then multiply this by 360 so we get turns, and plug this in here. Oh yeah, we also need to round it. We're going to round it down. Okay, let's see what this does for us. Okay, what you can see now is that one motor, like this motor B, it always runs 2 turns, and motor C runs different amount of turns, but finishes and stops always exactly at the same time as motor B. So here we solved another synchronization problem, that of starting and stopping motors together, and for this we hacked the move block. There is one problem left though, that this only works if motor B turns the most amount of degrees in this situation. So to make this work in all cases, we have to check which of the numbers is the highest, the amount of degrees for motor B or for motor C. So let's go ahead and check that. Let's go back to our original program. I'll just press undo for a bit. Okay, there we are again, our original program. Okay, now let's try and find out the largest value of B and C to make sure that we put the largest value in the degrees input and calculate the smallest value from our formula. So for this we are going to use 2 more math blocks, and what we're going to do is calculate the absolute values of both numbers. Let's remove this one. So now we have 2 random numbers, calculate their absolute values, then we're going to compare them to check if either B has got the largest value or C. Yes. And depending on that, we're going to run our formula. Now, imagine that this formula with the numbers turned around. Let's copy this. And so we turned around, we switched around B and C, but we also have to make the 50 negative, because when C is the larger value, we'll have to steer to the left, of course. So let's invert this number 2. Now, in the case that B is the largest number, we're going to input B into the degrees here. In the case that C was the largest number, we're going to input C into the degrees. And let's just try if this still works. Okay, the original ID still works because I get the exact targets as I asked here. Now let's make this one 360 and this one minus 720, and let's see if it still works, because in this case motor C has got the largest absolute value. And voila, we're still right on target here. Okay, now we're ready for prime time, and we can put this into a myblock. We're going to call the myblock synchronized move of B and C. Let's make this the amount of degrees for B, this one the amount of degrees for C, and let's add an extra parameter for power, which is going to be very convenient. And let's make sure that power is a positive number, because otherwise that'll mess up our formulas. Oh, and let's choose a nice icon here. Okay. Now aim to add a beautiful myblock. Okay, so what's left to do here? Oh, black wires. Bummer. Black wires are like a hell to remove. Let's see if this works. If I cut those blocks and paste them again. Yes, the black wires are gone. Let's cut them and paste them. Okay, black wires are solved. So remember that we put the amount of degrees for B into the B port, C into the C plug here, and let's make some more space. In the true case where B is the largest number, we're also going to put B into the amount of degrees. When it's false, apparently C is the largest number, so we're going to put C into the amount of degrees. And we're back, and I'm also going to remove this weight block because I want to add that outside of the myblock. That'll be cleaner. Oh yeah, and let's connect the power here, and also connect the power there. Okay, there we go. Now here is our beautiful myblock. And of course, this is rather lame to have the same number always. Let's set power to 50 and let's make random numbers again. So here is a random number of minus 10 to plus 10, and let's round the number because I want to show it on the video. It shows better if the amount of degrees is to the whole turn, so you can see both arms swinging up to the exact starting position always. So let's do this, and let's put this, okay, we still have to multiply it. Multiply it by 360, so we have full degrees, full turns. Let's put that into B, and let's do the whole thing again, and let's put that into C. This is rather messy, okay. So now we have random turns from minus 10 turns to plus 10 turns. Put them into B and C, and let's see if this works. Okay, these looks like multiple of 360, and the motor stopped and start at the same time. So now let's put this into a loop, and let's watch the video. Okay, what you see now is that the motors run in random directions and they start and finish at exactly the same time. Now this motor had a 0 turn. It's easy for the motor to start and stop. So let's see what this. Okay, now you can see that this motor ran faster, but it started and stopped at exactly the same time. What we also are seeing is that there is a little imprecision here, that the motors don't end straight up. That's because we are running to relative positions. And so in the next program we are going to run to absolute positions. So we are going to run the motors back to 0 or 1000 or whatever positions they started at. Now let's make a different myblock that runs to absolute positions. So what you see here is that wherever the motor is, this will just add or subtract the position from wherever the motor is. So let's make an alternative version of the myblock. Copy and paste it. Open this one. Make that the absolute. So to move to the absolute position, we are going to do some more math first. What we are going to do is first read the position of motor B and subtract that from the position where we want to be. So imagine motor B is at 50 and we want to be at 100, so we have to subtract the target from the current position, so that in effect we will move ahead 50. So let's do this, and let's subtract here. This is the target for B. Let's subtract it. So now we have an absolute position because we are looking at where we are, subtracting that from the wanted position and only using that as the input of the formula here. So let's do the same thing for C. You can also imagine this, that we subtract the position of C from the position where we want to be, because if we are already halfway there, we don't have to move that distance again. So let's put this one in here and put that into the rest of the calculation, and then of course we still have to disconnect those because they have to be relative positions again. So this is our calculated value for B, or calculated increment for C. This is the true case, so B has to go into the degrees. This is the false case, so C has to be input into the degrees. Now let's see what that does in our program. So this is the original myblock that we had, and what happens if we move it twice. So for instance, I go 180 here and 360 there, 180 here and 360 there. So because the original block moves relative positions, you will see that motor B will end up at 360 and motor B at 720, which will be the addition of both move blocks here. If, on the other hand, we take our new absolute position move block and do exactly the same thing, so we go 180, 360, 50, copy that. Because it's an absolute position, it'll move the first time, but not the second time, because it discovers it's already where it needs to be and doesn't move anymore. Okay, now we can do more or less the same thing as last time, and because we are running absolute positions, we can do something even more fun. We can add, we can make random numbers again. Where is the random number? So let's go from minus 360 to plus 360. Let's do that twice. Okay, let's input those random numbers into B and C. Wait a bit, and then, because, oops, wrong button, because we are running absolute positions, we can just reset B and C to 0. And so what this will give us, it will move B and C to random positions, start and stop at the same time, and then it'll reset B and C straight up to do the other random movement. Let's see what this looks like. Okay, you can see that the B and C start and stop at exactly the same time, both when going to a random position and when resetting themselves. So now this motor is okay. This motor is doing really small steps. Okay. So as you can see right now, we have solved another synchronization problem, namely the one of the synchronized movement of two motors. This synchronized movement, to make sure that both motors stop and start at the same time, is something that I always use into my vertical plotter projects, because this will lead to straighter lines when plotting this one on the wall. Okay, so this was maybe a rather long movie, but synchronization is a complex problem. I still hope you liked this hack and found it useful, and I'm looking forward to seeing projects where you use this exact synchronized movement hack. Bye bye!